Okay, I'm there. And then we can hang up the phone because it'll all be on. I'll know when you're there. It'll go ding dong. I'm sure you've used it before. You say you're still in Minneapolis? Oh, okay. Yeah. Is it freezing? Mm-hmm. Oh, there we go.
Okay, hi, we're back up.
Hey, hi.
Amazing, crazy.
There we go.
All right.
So
anyway, so you developed this program based on your experience and the coaching, the life hacking thing.
It was basically the best practices, and I was looking for a job, bumping against walls, and he said, what is the unique knowledge, the guy coached me, that you have that you might share with the world? And all of a sudden it hit me that I had accumulated over the last 6 years, systems, tools I created, contracts, spreadsheet, tested them with my own kids, given them to my friends, and even the screen contract. I mean, I've had a lot of people, have transformation in their kids just from using this stuff. And then I learned how to teach it online, right? And how that this stuff is so hard. Like you said, there's so many things about your book. You called it an art. People want a science. They want an app. They want something that is fast. They don't want to have to go. When the kids are teenagers, you'll see that you want to move away from parenting because they look like adults, and you want them to stay home. They drive, you think that they can do it, but so it really is an art, not a science. And so I thought with your book, your approach, very much much of the foundation of what I'm trying to teach, which is balance is the only way to do it. I took a bunch of quotes that I wrote down from your book that I would love to use in part of it, because in the presentation, because people just don't understand what to do. And so our goal is to help them and to make it a bit more scalable than conversations when I'm with my kids.
Yeah.
So my thought was that if the way the press, you don't know my course, I wouldn't expect you to endorse it outright, but just to talk about the issues you already are talking about in your book that you bring up. I think I know you have data, and you talked about how many of the families solve it differently. I think that's a big part of what we're doing in our curriculum, saying here's a template, here's the way it might manifest, here are parenting styles. So we bring in a lot of other stuff to the courses too, and some neuroscience, just so people really can understand that their teenager it's not, to be permissive in this case right now in 2018 is actually not helping your child, right? They could talk about individuation and how they feel like they're, insulting their teenager if they put limits. And so to help them understand some of that stuff. So, sorry, that's my cat.
Oh, hi. I know, they love computers.
Yeah, they do. Anything I'm working on. So, today Vanity Fair covered the Stanford kids who are, basically picketing Apple to try to change, and Tristan Harris, Silicon Valley is all up in arms like they get about this stuff. but I mean, Apple's not going to re-engineer the phone this year, you know,
Yeah.
and I, you know, the stuff that Tristan Harris is doing is great, you know, and for awareness, because about 6 months ago, I'm definitely the only one of my peer group who's doing this, you know, who's even trying to do it. Because when your kids are a little bit older, like mine, you know, yours will be, you know, we will have so much in place. Bonsai, really? We will have so much more in place then because we will have caught up to the technology.
I hope so. Yeah.
They're all my friends are letting their kids sleep with their phone.
Yeah. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I'm happy that you're out there doing it. I think, you know, in terms of, you know, what this conversation would look like, obviously, like I'm happy that this is happening because I've learned again and again that I'm a thought leader person. Like I'm an ideas person. I go from idea to idea. I'm very good at putting stuff together, but I don't want to be running a service business. Like that's not me. I'm not going to be a coach. I'm not going to be, you know, I'll come and talk to people, but it's just not my dream. Yeah. So I'm happy that you're out there and that you want to help parents. I think it's great. And I want to be helpful to all the people that are doing that. Yeah. And so the question just becomes like, what does that look like? Right. I mean, you're free to use my book, quote from my book, cite my book in any way that you want. You're free to bring, if you're doing, depending on the structure of what you're doing with parents, if there's a guest speaker situation or a guest webinar situation that you want to get me in on, I'm happy to do that. Love it if you offer recommend the book as a resource to parents. And on my end too, I mean, there's a lot of things coming in where people are asking me to say like, is this good? Is this bad? And I get asked that a lot and I have to walk a really fine line. But I certainly want to collect things and curate things that are useful for parents and to pass things along and to put people in touch. And so that's kind of open-ended for me. It may be something that I need to hire a PR person or a manager to help me think through because I do feel that I'm at a powerful position and it's a nexus and I want to be using that force for good, but also with the full understanding that like I want to think deeply about things. I want to write books and I want to think about the next thing. That's kind of just that's how I am. So those are just some thoughts that I want to throw out. I mean, what do you think? What's your ideal?
Yeah. My ideal was I wanted to have the right person. So in the world of PR, so that, you know, no one reads past the second graph. Plus I think PR, the only reason I'm doing it is to have that voice of similar to yours, right? Of balance, but I also grew up in Silicon Valley. And so I'm taking that as well. I'm just trying to sort of say, hey, people, there's a solution and it's hard. And most of you aren't going to do it. Okay. So what I'm looking for you is credibility and maybe a quote in the news release that's not about my course, but it's about the subject that we're talking about, which is balance. And again, I wrote something up that I thought would be good. So it's something where we're philosophically aligned, but not, hey, Bonsai, you know, and that essentially you're just endorsing the idea. Our solution is something that's separate, and certainly we can have an affiliate relationship. I absolutely have you as the book. Is a link is going to be on the site to the Amazon thing. There are some solutions like the Unglue one, by the way, where I'm working really, that is a very tough nut to crack, but I've been working with them closely to try to make it work more scalably because again, they're at the next.
About it? I'm curious.
I'm sorry?
What's tough about it?
Well, there's a puck through the Wi-Fi, a device, right, that they put through your Wi-Fi, which is similar to Circle by Disney. Yeah. And then they put a private VPN. I have a parent app, and my kids have a kids app. And that's where most people fall off. They say, my kid took it off the phone. And I go, then take their phone away. You know, so the biggest thing is so they're cable provider dependent, Google algorithm dependent, device version and iOS dependent. You see what I'm saying? And Google redoes its algorithm. So what you're going to see is our kids, they've weaseled their way into the public school system.
Yeah.
Now they literally just last week changed the permission. So you couldn't, what happens, we need our kids to do Google Classroom, but not YouTube. And they literally move that button all the time.
Wow.
So I'm working with the tech support and the CEO on that. And I think Alon, he's Israeli, you'll find you really align with him as well. He doesn't have anywhere near your thought leadership, but he's thoughtful. And the biggest difference with those, and the reason that aligns with what you talk about, is they separate, to your point about we have to show the kids the future, not just say, cut it off, entertainment time from screen time, right? So that, it's funny, you and they are the first ones that actually bring that up. I like your Michael Pollan thing. My analogy, if you will, is much more the inconvenient truth. That's the way I come at this.
Sure.
Just because it's so real for me, that battle. And when I talk to my friends and I'm like, you're letting them sleep with the phone, and I get them for 30 minutes and the phone's out of the room. You know, they can't know what I know and keep it there.
Right.
So the way that I would see it is, one, if you could provide a quote. Two, we'll just send people your way. Because they're going to, I have absolute confidence I know what I'm doing, but I don't have creds, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not, so you do. And I would want to put it with someone. I'm also going to send them to Alon because I really like what he says. I mean, Jean Twenge, I think that they'll want to go talk to her, but I'd rather feed them something else, right? Yeah. So, and if you need a PR person, by the way, Juliet's my age. We're like 50. So if you want someone, she'd be a good person. She's just a very senior. She's got her agency, but it's just her and virtual people. So the costs are really low. And I mean, yeah, you could, because it's funny. I have a little Google alert on you. And so it's like Ed Surge. That's great. But what about, and I saw your op-ed piece. That was great. You know what I'm saying? But so you're taking, it's not a cigarette. See, I see how the people are they're taking you as the opposite, because that's just as controversial, which is great. But yeah, so if you do want someone, again, Juliet's a great person to start with. Of course, there's tons of people that would be dying to do it, but I educate her about this. I mean, people are like, you know, they understand it after we sit together for 30 minutes. So the way I guess it would manifest is, yes, that we would send people to you for the launch. We were thinking of launching, again, just getting back into the dirt of PR, on National Consumer Rights Day, which was the 15th of March, only because it gives the press something to play with. And this concept of parents, it's our right to take back agency, you see? And so, like, you'll see, again, when you were talking about your kids, I was like, oh, God. I mean, I'm going to have everything for you. I will have the core spreadsheet, the screen contract. I have something called an after-school routine, where I re-architected the way from the minute they walk in the door to the minute they go to bed, because if not, literally they have the phone on their head, right? And we are the augmented reality. It's seriously, it's scary. And so I've changed it. I've created a graphic for that so my kids can see it, and I also enforce it, right? So I'm testing this stuff, and I'm testing it with my friends. So the other things that I will be coming out with that are more building on what we've talked about, and speak more. I don't know how much of your book talked about the need for education reform, and if you have your kids in private school or public school, but it's this, after we teach focus, right, which is the first thing that I'm going to with teenagers, there's also, you can imagine the issues of time management and then goal setting. So that's how my program is going to grow up, right? It's going to start with the focus. Do you know Cal Newport? Have you heard of him?
No, I don't think so. He's
an associate professor of computer science at Georgetown, but he wrote a book called Deep Work. And it's literally, it says focus is the IQ of the knowledge economy, right? You would very much align with him. And you know what? Yeah, he has a bunch of books where he's taken his life and written about it as he goes. But again, so the focus part for our kids, if you think about knowledge commerce and, you know, the way that everything's going to be replaceable, well, without the ability to focus, manage time, set goals. So I've also been doing all of that with my friends. And so by the time your kids are grown up, I'll give it to all of you. I mean, so I think that those are a direct, their output. Again, if you take Tristan Harris's framework that this technology is taking away agency, everything I'm doing is trying to give back agency, right? And, I know it works for me, and I know it works for my friends, and I'm hoping that I'm going to help it work for other people. The Life Hack Bootcamp system and courses are literally best practices, and I've done so much, so I've taken the best practices of how to make that learning stick. And, it's funny because a lot of people had said they want to do not a lot of people, one other person, but go directly to teens. Never going to work. Never going to work. Because it's got to be this piece that you said, warmth and discipline, right?
Yeah, of course.
And if you're missing the warmth, it's not going to work. So it was funny because we're using the term addiction in my narrative, but I'm very, very clear to say, I'm not going to save them from addiction, and we're not going to cure addiction. If the kid's addicted, I want nothing to do with it because I can't touch that. It's if that's even in their bonsai, what are you doing? But if the parent wants to proactively address and then mitigate some of this stuff, that's where ours comes in.
Cool. Okay. So the quote you would need by when? Because I have to think it over and talk to my personal board of directors about it.
Sure. Let's see. We drafted a news release. We would need it. Well, again, we've sort of pushed the date back, so I don't know when. I mean, in a week.
Okay. So let me think about it, and I'll get back to you on that, and we'll keep in touch about the other stuff.
So I can send you the overall draft meeting so you see.
Yeah, that would be good.
The positioning. It's only the first couple graphs, and I made something up for you, and I just did that to make it easy. Clearly, it was just to show you that you don't have to say anything about my class because you haven't taken it.
Yeah, that's helpful.
And then you can decide what to do with it. And then Juliet, no matter what, if you do this, will tell you exactly who wants to talk to you. What they want to hear. So she'll give you all that from my standpoint when we send people your way.
Okay. That's great.
And you just tell her what's the right, phone number or whatever is the best way to contact you and stuff.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for making the time. And I'm glad, I really did take notes from your book, and I have the audio book, and I bought 2 copies of the book and I give it out. So I'm very authentic. I'm an acquired taste, but one thing you'll realize is I am enthusiastic about informed sources, right? And so I really appreciate your time.
Sure. You too. Take care. Have a good day.
You too. Okay. Have a good tour. I hope you get out of Minneapolis.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.